it's Lexi at Cozy Tea Cafe over on Bookstagram, and today I'm going to be summarizing Roots of Darkness by Demi Winters, which is book 2.5 in the Ashen series. So it's a little novella that's placed right in between book 2 and book 3, which is Dawn of the North, and that is publishing on February 3rd. So the events of this book are following Hecla and the rest of the Blood Axe crew while Scylla and Ray are in Caliscarde during book 2. So as always, this is going to be full of spoilers. It's going to be an in-depth summary of this little novella, so if you have not read it and you don't want it spoiled, don't continue. So before the events of this book, Ray writes to Hecla and tells her that Eyvind Håkansson will be the stand-in commander of the Blood Axe crew while he's away. 1 week before the end of Kingdom of Claw, Istra's chieftain Lofter has been hindering the crew's investigation of the mist for weeks, and a new mysterious warrior arrives and enters the fighting ring, and Hecla immediately recognizes that he's holding himself back and he's not fighting at full strength. That same warrior finds her on the riverbank later that day, and they fight until Hecla pins him, and then they end up sparring for hours because they find each other to be worthy opponents. By the end of the night, they end up sleeping together. Hecla wakes up after sleeping with this stranger and finds out that Eyvind has come 3 days early. So she goes to meet him and Chieftain Lofter, and Eyvind is second in the heir to Jarl Håkon of Kopa, which is briefly mentioned in Kingdom of Claw. And when she meets him, she sees that he's the same warrior that she slept with the night before. Hecla catches Eyvind and his men up to speed on what's happened so far in Istra with the mist, and tells them that the Kleinar that were sent in to help were all found dead and strung up and seemingly killed by vines. Hecla insists that they need to investigate the first murder site, but Lofter says that it was given a ritual cleansing and it must be left undisturbed for a year, but she thinks that he's hiding something. Hecla is getting annoyed that Eyvind is going along with Lofter and shooting her ideas down, but then Lofter reveals that their people used to be wardens of this western woods until about 17 years ago when the Urkins invaded and the old gods were outlawed. They've abandoned their gods and rituals all these years, and their link to the land has weakened. Sunevald, their sun god, came to Lofter in a dream and told them that the mist is a sign of imbalance, and they must restore their broken faith. When Sunevald is at full strength during the night of the double black moon, he'll banish the mists. Hecla expects the warriors to laugh, but Eyvind says that Lofter is a friend of his father's and they must respect his wishes. Eyvind assures Hecla that he won't tell anyone about them sleeping together to protect her reputation, and reveals that he agrees with her plan, but they have to play their cards right to appease Lofter. One of the warriors condescends Hecla for being a woman, and she teaches him a lesson by challenging him to a duel and showing him why they call her Hecla Ribs Basher. Hecla learns that this warrior she fought is Eyvind's second in command, which seems to amuse Eyvind. Hecla talks with Sigrun via sign language and asks if she's okay with the new warriors around, and Sigrun says that it's hard to trust them when she can't even communicate with them. Near the western woods, Hecla sees the Volsick's spiral stave sigil carved into a tree and decides to go and investigate despite Lofter forbidding it. Hecla sees another spiral stave written in blood, and when she approaches it, she sees a vision of dying elder trees, and she hears the tree scream. She hears the heartbeat of the mist approaching, and she tries to flee, but she's not fast enough. The mist swallows her, and she sees a grim wolf and hears a voice telling her to close her eyes. Then she feels a shock run through her body. She wakes up in the forest and sees a vision of a squirrel calling her protector and telling her that the Dark One is sending its creatures and she must come back another day. Eyvind finds her and carries her back as she burns up with a fever, then passes out. Hecla wakes up over a day later, and Sigrun tells her that Eyvind sent for 2 healers before her fever broke. Both Gunnar and Sigrun apologize for not being there for her, and Gunnar, who's been super withdrawn and depressed since Ilias's death, hugs her and says that he can't lose her too. In a flashback of Hecla and Eyvind's night together, we see that Hecla lets her guard down and they share small secrets between each other, but they never exchange names. They only call each other Fox and Lynx. Hecla doesn't believe that Eyvind will disobey his father's orders and take her advice, and she's tired of men not listening to her. She overhears Eyvind's warriors saying it's not a good look that he follows his father's every word and doesn't lead on his own, and even though she agrees, she doesn't like that the warriors are talking behind his back and not speaking to him directly like she does. Gunnar finds Hekla and asks if she wants to spar together, and despite having this no-strings-attached relationship for a while now, Hekla declines, and Eyvind sees Gunnar's arm around her. Hekla sees the talking squirrel and it again calls her protector and says that she must come see its mistress. Hekla has a dream of people screaming in a barn being engulfed by mist, and when she wakes up, she tells Eyvind that his warriors talk behind his back and suggests that he make his own decisions and go into the woods with her. Eyvind says that they won't enter the woods until after the ritual on the double black moon, but Hekla says they could all be dead by then and tells him to stop using the people of Istra as pawns. Hekla dreams of the forest and wakes up with her horse in front of the apple tree from her dreams. She sees the talking squirrel, whose name is Kritka, and he says he brought her here to the Hagginson Burrow, the site of the first victims, to give her answers about the bad thing so she will trust him and help free his mistress. Hekla hears screeching inside the barn and finds all of the missing people with this bluish skin, black blood, pointed teeth, glowing red eyes, and chains around their neck. Hekla recognizes them as the undead Draugr, which Ray initially ruled out as the cause of the mist, but it looks like they've been created by the mist. Hekla remembers the animals on the Road of Bones with red eyes and realizes that the mist must affect all wildlife. Hekla sees that someone has been caring for the Draugr and assumes it's Lofter because he believes Sunevald will cleanse the mist. One of the Draugr spots Hekla and speaks as the mist and says it will feast. Then she feels the beating of it coming again, and she flees with Kritka, who tells her to use the fire torch. The mist recoils as it reaches the torch, then it charges away. She hears her horse scream, and she runs to see that the mist has surrounded her horse and turned it into an undead creature, and she unfortunately has to brutally kill it. Hekla pities Lofter for holding out hope for his people, but she still thinks that he's a fool. Kritka again tells Hekla that she needs to free her mistress, but Eyvind arrives on the road with his party following behind, and Kritka scurries away. Hekla tells Eyvind everything, and she realizes that he already knew about the Draugr the whole time, and his father still gave him the orders to perform the ancient rites of the old gods on the double black moon. Eyvind tells Hekla that she's gone behind his back in front of his men, and he has no choice but to kick her off the case. He says this loud enough for his men to hear. In another flashback of Hekla's night with Eyvind, she opens up and tells him how she lost her arm to her husband, which she never tells anyone, and he tells her that he's trying to prove his worth to his father. Hekla is about to give up, but Gunnar and Sigrun tell her that they're with her and they'll follow her lead. She tells them that the mist is scared of fire and can't leave the forest when the moon is out, but it will have free reign on the double black moon. So they need to evacuate the town as soon as possible without alerting Lofter. Hekla goes to the stables and sees that Eyvind is readying wagons for what looks like an evacuation. He sees Hekla and tells her that he had to send her away when his men found out that she defied orders, but he hoped that she'd come back. She realizes that he's been listening to her the whole time and planning his own evacuation while Lofter preps for the feast. Hekla understands and says that she'll follow his lead. The sun sets and Lofter starts the ritual, and Hekla hears the beat of the mist approaching. Lofter tells the townspeople to hurry and throw their belongings into the fire for the ritual, but the people realize it's not working and they need to flee. The townspeople thought the ritual was for Sunevald, and when they hear Lofter talk directly to the mist, they realize he's been communicating to it, and they start to panic at the betrayal. Eyvind tells the people to follow him to the wagons, and Lofter finally realizes that he was tricked by the mist. They light a wall of fire, and Sigrun looks scared, which confirms to Hekla that Sigrun's scars that she never talks about are from fire. Human and creature Draugr start to lay themselves on the firewall to create a gap that the mist can get through. Everyone has already left at this point to evacuate, so Hekla is alone and ready to die to give them a head start. She hears the Draugr recoil and say Ashbringer, and then Eyvind and his men charge as he wields fire from his hands and closes the gap in the firewall. Hekla tells Eyvind to concentrate his power to light the dais on fire while she distracts the mist, then she kisses him and jumps behind the firewall. She sees the mist but is enveloped in darkness as Eyvind jumps on top of her and pushes the mist back with his fire. The mist has been destroyed for now, but Istra has been devastated by the fire. Gunnar and Sigrun find Hekla, and Gunnar thanks Eyvind for keeping her safe and tells Hekla he needs to talk to her later. When Hekla is back home, she's thinking about a relationship with Eyvind when Gunnar bursts in and asks for her hand in marriage. Hekla is shocked and initially thinks he's joking, but realizes he isn't, and she doesn't want to marry him, but she also doesn't want to send him back into a depression. so she tells him that she needs time to think. Hecla goes to find Eyvind, but overhears him talking with his second-in-command. His second-in-command tells him that he saw the kiss between him and Hecla, and he urges Eyvind to tell her about his betrothal to someone named Liv. She leaves heartbroken and angry and sees Krika, who tells her to come find the mistress in the woods to save her. Krika says the mistress has been leaving symbols and sent out grim wolves to find a protector, and was led to Hecla. Krika says the mistress can help fight the dark thing if the protector frees her. Hecla tells Krika that she'll help, but she needs to go to Kova first to regroup. So that is where the novella ends. Sometimes I find that novellas aren't always necessary to the plot, but I think that this one is going to be super necessary to have read before reading Dawn of the North. So, as always, if there are any other books you'd like to summarize, please just leave me a comment, and thanks for watching.